Hello and welcome to the academyofworship.org YouTube channel. My name is Chris. Today we are talking about what I'm going to dub an essential tool. Does it mean that you have to have it? Yes. No, I'm kidding. You don't have to have it, but it's an awesome thing to get. Up front, I want to make sure that this is clear. I'm not sponsored by this company, nor am I saying that you cannot succeed in musical adventures without spending money on this thing, because it does cost a little bit of money. But having said that, I'm going to share with you a tool that I use all the time and have used for quite a while. I'm sure some of you out there may already use it, but if you're watching this video, chances are you're curious about it and maybe you haven't taken the plunge yet. What am I talking about? It's a program called OnSong. To be clear, we're not going to be going into like super deep levels of the application and all the ins and outs of what it can do because it's pretty in depth. I will recommend that if at the end of this you still have questions, go check out OnSong's website and videos on YouTube. They have their own channel, and there's a lot of things you can find out and discover and learn by checking that stuff out. But I wanted to share with you how I use it and some of the really main features that I find to be extraordinarily useful. Because on this channel, if you haven't figured it out already, the point is that if you are a musician and you do musical things, I want to give you tools, whether they're actual things on a guitar or bass or an instrument of some sort, or if they're outboard things you can use and add to your arsenal to help do what you and I do. Okay, so what is OnSong? Well, like I mentioned before, it's an app. And specifically, it's an app on iPad. So do you have an iPad? If so, let's chat about what OnSong is and what it can do for you. Do you not have an iPad? You should go buy one and get OnSong. So let's dive in. We're going to change the screen. You're not going to see my ugly mug anymore. You're going to see my iPad, and I'm going to take you through it, and hopefully it'll be something that's really cool for you. So let's check it out. Okay, here we are in the application OnSong, and at first blush, it doesn't look like much. You are seeing what I guess a lot of us would probably look at, which is a chord sheet. You got lyrics and you got chords above it, a lead sheet, as it's called most times. And I just wanted to pull something up to give you an idea. This particular song, Able to Save, is one I co-wrote with a group of people. But I wanted to demonstrate kind of the quick and dirty features of things I find to be extraordinarily helpful. So the first thing you'll notice right up front is it's pretty clean. And you'll notice that I have it formatted in such a way that my chords are red and the words and lyrics are in black on a white background. But you can actually go through and change all of that by hitting settings, and you can change formats, and you can change chord colors. I like mine red for some reason. Don't ask me why. You can do chord highlights, so it kind of puts a background on the chords. This one right here is just blank. I like that one. You can go through and change all of the sizes of things. So, you got your crazy ones and anything you want. If you want the lyrics to be gigantic and your chords to be small, you can do that. So you've got lots and lots of options as far as formatting goes, and that's no big deal. Most things do that. But where this thing starts shining, and again, where I think you will probably hopefully find this really, really handy, is that let's say you pull this song up and the worship leader or musical leader says, all right, we're going to do this song. And you know that right now you're used to playing it in A, as you can see in the top right corner, key of A, Capo 2. So you're saying, well, this is the chords that you would play relative to a capo on fret number 2. So an E minor on fret capo 2 is going to be equivalent of an F sharp minor chord. But this is the chords you'd literally put your hand in the shape of if you were capo 2, which is really handy. But let's say you didn't want that. You can go in here and go to the chord section down here, and then you can just take the capo off, just unpower it, as it were, and you'll notice that the chords change to the actual chords. So, let's say you were a piano player and a guitar player handed you his iPad, and you were like, dude, I don't have a capo. And so you pull you take the capo part of it off, and all of a sudden you can see the actual chords. So you know that you're playing an F sharp minor to an E major to a B minor and so on. So that's really helpful, as well as just for guitar players that, maybe you don't You don't want it relative to a capo. Or you need to chat with someone about the actual chords and don't want to think about it. And so you pull the capo part off and you can check it out. So I find that to be really cool. But the other thing that's really cool is, let's say that, you have another guitar player in the band, and let's say they're capo too, playing this in A, and you just don't want to duplicate what they're doing. So let's say you want to move around your capo. Well, turn the capo back on. And right now it defaults to 2 because that's what this is right here. But let's say you want to move the capo around. Let's say, what happens if I put it at capo 7? Well, there you go. So relative to the capo on fret 7, you would play a B minor, an A, an E minor, and all of a sudden you've got different voicings than the other guitar player has. Or up here, let's say you want to go way up to 9, an A minor, G, a D minor. So without doing anything and without having to think too hard, you just move a slider and all of a sudden you've got different chord shapes you can play relative to a capo. And then again, you just unpower the capo, as it were, hit that little button next to it, and it goes back to the regular chords. So, and the cool thing I like about, if you keep the capo slider where it's at, but just take the little power button off, if you get rid of that, you can see that it says key of A, capo 9, and then it says off, which is really nice, because sometimes you pull up a song and realize, man, do I use a capo on this song? Oh, it looks like I do use a capo, but currently it's off. And so it's a nice little reminder of that. Another cool thing is that you can, right now you see it says diagram position right here. So if we start putting a diagram up, look at that. So it puts, if you touch them, it will give you different versions of the E minor that you can play right there. I'll touch the D. Gives it a second. You go D on guitar. Pretty slick. So you all of a sudden you have chord diagrams down below it. You can also move them around, like, I want it above, so it puts them above, or you can actually put it right next to the chords if you really want to, instead of the chords. Like, it replaces the chords with the diagram. I admit that would be pretty hard to read, but if you want to do it, you can. So that's pretty cool. But here, check this out. Under instrument, you can change it to say piano. So if you are a keyboard player, how do I play an E minor? How do I play a D? So you can see all of it right now, the power of OnSong that you can get. Playing mandolin. There you go. That's how to play that. Banjo, sure. Ukulele, why not? So you've got some pretty cool things you can do. And then, of course, at the bottom, you can transpose. If your instrument's in a different concert key, you can do that as well. I won't mess with that right now, but it's there. You'll also notice that at the very top, I'm going to take away these diagrams, by the way. At the very top, it says style, alpha, Nashville. Oh, we talked about it on this channel very briefly, and not that great, but the Nashville numbering system. So if you want Nashville, you can do that, which is really, really cool. You've got Roman numerals if you want to do that, or you can do this one, which is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Do, repeating. And if you notice, it's La minor, so pretty crazy. I wouldn't be able to read this unless I thought really hard about it. But if you wanted that to be how you referred to the numbers, or at least the chord, there you go. So pretty cool. But I would be super confused using that. So we'll go back to alpha, which is just what most of us are used to reading, but there you go. Some pretty cool stuff. Okay. One thing I haven't gotten into yet is the key. So right now the key is A, but if you wanted to change the key altogether, someone says, hey, we need to do this in the key of B. You just simply click B right there from A, this section here, key to B, and then you could change your capo if you wanted to. So it's pretty cool. This is a really invaluable tool for this reason alone, at least I find, so that if you're in a band or you're playing with other musicians and they're not doing, you have the sheet music or you have the music in your iPad, but they're not doing it in the key, they're not doing it in anything that you're familiar with, you can quickly touch a few things and all of a sudden you've got it in the right key. And if you want to start playing around with the capo because you know that someone else is playing in a certain part of their neck and you want to get away from that, play higher or lower or whatever, you have that capability without thinking too incredibly hard. The part that I do want to cover, it's, I guess, a con to this whole thing, but I imagine it's a con to a lot of apps like this, and that is how you get the music in here. It's not bad, but it is what it is. So let's first talk about organization. So if you click on the songs at the top left here, you'll notice at the bottom of this new column, there's a songs, artists, keys, topics, and sets. Now, it's kind of a weird way to navigate. You have to get used to it once you get OnSong. It's a little weird. But at the top left, just under songs, you'll see books. if I click books, it takes me back to, it's kind of like levels of folder storage. So you have a library, and that's basically your overall database of songs. So it's like one big stop. You'll see mine's like 464.4 megabytes, pretty big. But if I click default, so obviously you could have multiple libraries if you wanted to, but I keep mine all in one big library. And then in library, you get books. Now you have categories of all songs, so it doesn't care. But if you notice down a little further, I have a secular and a worship section. And what happens is when you add a song to OnSong, you can tag it and put it in a book. So basically say, I want this to be a worship song. And then of course it categorizes it with worship, or I want this to be secular. You can add more. If I click this little plus at the bottom of this column down here, you can say enter a book name, and then you have all the stuff you can do. I'm not going to do that right now. So if I wanted to add, say, Christmas or whatever, and then I want it specifically a Christmas book, I could do that. So it's helpful to organize your music that way. So we'll go into worship here. You'll notice we have a big alphabetic list of songs that I have entered into this place. You can do a search right here if you wanted to do a search, if you didn't want to scroll all the way down through your songs. But the way, getting to the whole how to get songs into here thing, to do this is such. So wherever you add the song from is where it gets added. So right now I'm in the worship book. So if I were to push the plus right down here at the bottom of this column, that would do an add song. And I would choose where I can add it from. Now you can see right off the bat that there's a lot of places you can add songs from. So you can do it manual by the top one, add song. So it'd just give you like a blank sheet. You can copy an existing song. There's an import feature. This whole section here, all over the place. There's Dropbox. You can go to files on your local device. Google Drive, Planning Center. So if you're a part of Planning Center, it can pull it straight from. You can go into a service, or if you've been scheduled for something in Planning Center, then you can log in via this and pull down the whole set, and it'll grab everything there that it has. You can choose which version of the song you want, if there's multiple. Song Select, if you're a member of CCLI or have direct access to the CCLI song database, you can get it straight from there, as well as other popular ones here. You can have it sync your Dropbox or Google Drive or other stuff. And of course, you can export your library. So if you want to take a song and export it, say, to Dropbox, or even email it to somebody or whatever, you can do that. And there's multiple ways you can do that. I can do it in PDF. I think you can do it in plain text form. It can also do it in the native OnSong format. So if you have a friend that uses OnSong, or a teammate that does, then you can send it to them and they can just straight up import it, and it'll be however you formatted it and however you made it will stay that way. You can see there's a million ways to import songs. Now my one gripe, and again, this isn't a gripe with OnSong specifically, it's a gripe more with, I think, how what's called OCR, optical character recognition, works. But basically what happens is you import a song, it does it in text, and you'll notice sometimes they come in kind of funky looking. But if we go into this song, able to save one more time here, and I click on the top right little pencil button, that's edit. This is basically how it sees text. So when you import a song, it won't look this clean. It'll be pretty messy. There'll be extra spaces, things like that you'll have to come in here and clean up manually. Now, if you import a song like on a PDF or a text document, there's at the bottom left-hand side, you'll see extract text. So if I pull a song in and I don't see anything in this edit mode because it's blank, because it hasn't actually read anything or imported any actual text from the document. Like for instance, if you have a PDF, it's, when you're not, here I'll hit cancel. When you're in a PDF, you'll see the PDF and it'll display it like you would normally read a PDF. But if you go into edit, you won't see anything here because it hasn't extracted the text yet. So you would hit extract text. It takes a few minutes to do it, and it reads through it and does its best. I emphasize best to put it in here the best it can. Now, I've had multiple times where I've done an extract text and it comes in real messy and I have to come in and clean it up. Or if it comes in as just gibberish, I have to just end up, doing it manually and just entering everything by hand. However, with that con and saying that it sometimes can be messy to clean songs up initially, once you are done, you're done. And it stays in your library and you've cleaned it up and it looks beautiful. You're done. So I will say that, with a little bit of headache up front, you end up with something you're using a lot on the back end. And so it ends up being worth it. But just an FYI, Yeah, we all see it when we use OnSong. We all have this issue. So back in the editing of this song, you'll notice that the chords are in brackets. I prefer to do it that way because you put it right before the word you want it to appear above. And I find it to be a little more accurate this way. The other way is to put it above the lyrics and have it do its best to guess. So if you hit this little hammer, you can say chords over lyrics, and then it ends up looking like you would be used to. I find this a little harder to line up. It's just more frustrating for me. So like I said, I just end up going with bracketed. I put it right before the word that I want the chord to appear over. You hit done, and it looks like this. So I find that to be easy, but you may find something totally different than me. That's fine. A few other things that are useful that I have used every once in a while. You'll notice that on any song, no matter which one we're using, like for instance, here's a PDF. This song I never ended up importing. So if I hit that, you'll notice that there is lyrics because I had pulled it down from, I think it was CCLI at the time, but there's no chords. So I would have to do an extract text, and I guarantee you this right here, ooh, that'd be a mess for this song. But no matter what song you're using, you'll notice at the bottom right, you have a couple of icons that show up. Some actually are lit up and some are not. Like in this one, that metronome looking thing isn't, but on this one it is. Why? Well, on this text version, I actually have a BPM set. If you look at the top left there, it says able to save, and then key of A, tempo, 76. Well, if you have a tempo set, it knows what it is. And if I actually hit that metronome, you'll notice the very top bar lights up. It gives you the 1 in blue and everything else is in red. That's a visual indicator of the tempo of the song. So if you ever need to, on a silent stage, get just a general idea what the tempo is, you hit that guy, and that'll get you at least in the ballpark. There is an audible sound to it if you have sound enabled. And most people that I know don't, because that would be loud and obnoxious if you were on a quiet stage between songs or something. You'll notice that there is a play button as well as a down button. There is a way to sync this with foot pedals. And this play right here doesn't work with the foot pedal necessarily, but if you don't have a foot pedal to change pages, to scroll up and down, you'll notice, let me get to a multi-page song here. Do I have one? Here we go. So on this page right here, all right now, that's a worship song. You would need to manually scroll your iPad to get there, or touch the bottom of your screen, which automatically takes you to the second page. Top of your screen takes you to the previous page. Or if you have a foot pedal, you would just step on it and would automatically do this. If you're on a song like this and you want it to auto scroll for you, you can do this in this section. So I don't use this particularly, but you can. So if you want this to auto scroll and you don't have to touch your iPad, you can totally time it. Let's see. Do it 20 seconds. So if you hit go, you'll notice it auto scrolls. And of course, 20 seconds is pretty fast for any song, but you get the idea. And you can hit pause and stop it and scroll around manually if you need to. Now there's a play button there as well. Let's say that you imported an actual audio file for this song. You can choose your track here, and that way you can listen to it. So if you're amongst a team and you want everyone to hear the song, you can hit play right there. I don't use that feature, but it's there if you ever want to do that. That's a lot to take in, I admit. So don't feel bad if you didn't get it all. But I wanted to show you some powerful features that this app has and why it would be really, really handy to have in front of you when you're playing music. There's a lot more to this app that you can get into, and you can learn that on their website, and they have videos for it and stuff. So make sure to check that out. But yeah, that gives you a generic overview of OnSong and why it's a powerful tool and why I think you should go get it. So I hope you found that helpful. I hope that you were able to glean off of this how it might be a helpful tool and how OnSong might be able to help you in your musical adventures. Now, I know that I'm talking about an iOS and iPad specific thing here. So I understand that I'm kind of advocating buying an iPad if you don't have one. I think they're great tools. To be fair, I bought an iPad exclusively because I wanted OnSong. That's how good I thought OnSong was. I saw the app. I saw some people who introduced me to it, and I realized that I can't run that app because I don't have iOS. So I actually went out and bought an iPad and then bought OnSong. But like I've said before, do you need to have this? No, absolutely not. However, I think that if you do go down that road, or if you do have an iPad, then this is definitely worth the purchase. Now, to be clear, this app does cost money. As of filming this right now, it's $29.99. So $30. It's worth every penny, especially if you add it to your arsenal and you use it all the time. And hopefully I've proven to you that it can come in really, really handy. Especially on the fly when people change keys, or if you need to throw a capo on something and you don't want to play in like a traditional area on your neck, but you don't want to like think about it a whole lot. It comes in super handy. Not to mention you take a binder, we used to have as a binder full of music or sheet music or whatever, and condense it down into, well, the thickness and the weight of an iPad. Pretty slick. So I hope this has been helpful. So let me know below. Do you already use OnSong? Are you thinking about maybe getting OnSong now that you've seen this video? Was this video even helpful? What are your opinions on using apps or things like that in music? Is this even the kind of thing where you are interested? I don't know. Let me know. Comment below. Please hit like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I hope this content is helpful and you do consider subscribing if you're not. And please share this amongst your friends or people that may benefit from this kind of content. I love for this to get in front of new eyes and people to be blessed by it. So please let me know, share, all that stuff. As usual, go turn some knobs, flip some switches, and I'll see you in the next one.